Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Brothers and sisters, first and foremost, jazakumullahu khairan for attending the conference over the last 2 days. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it from us and accept it from you, these righteous deeds and speech that we shared amongst ourselves and reminded each other with. Keep yourselves connected to the affairs in this masjid, meaning the durus and the classes and that which is being taught through our websites and likewise through the Twitter account of salafimasjid.com. So keep yourselves informed of the events in this masjid, and especially with regard to your children, that you must not and you should not neglect them and neglect their tarbiyah. Because even though you may be able to protect yourselves from the ills of society and its influences, children are a different ball game altogether. Because all of the da'wah of this society and the kuffar and the da'wah to sin is aimed and directed at the youth. It is no longer directed at people like myself. We're beyond, they've given up on us, right? Even though it is possible, of course, even for an old man to fall into, and that's why the Prophet ﷺ said that the most severely punished on Yawm al-Qiyamah, those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not look at and He will not speak to them. وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ شَيْخٌ زَانٍ, an old man who commits zina. Meaning that it's not expected from him, but he falls into it. So he is more severely punished than a youth, because he should not, in his maturity, be committing such acts. As for the rest of you, barakallahu feekum, please do not neglect your children when it comes to durus. And it's easy. Before you know it, you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to attend inshallah next week. And before you know it, 6 months have gone by and you still haven't attended. And your children are being neglected. So you are ardent upon them doing their geography homework, or their maths homework, or their English homework. But you are not ardent about their tarbiyah Islamiyya and their Qaaidah as-Salafiyya. You're not ardent up over their belief and over their cultivation. And the amount of effort that you invest in your children, mothers and fathers, you know what you do for them. Why would you throw all of that away because of the fact that you are not giving them their Islamic tarbiyah? So by the time they turn 16, 17 and 18, you've lost them. Because they are not interested in Islam. They are more interested in the sins that are around them. And those sins in a society like this will lead to atheism. Sins in this society are not like sins in Muslim societies. The sins in Muslim societies do not cause the Muslim youth to leave their religion. The sins in this society are set up and developed in a manner that they cause the youth to leave Islam. Because these are types of, the way that the education in this country and the indoctrination is set up in this country, it causes people to leave Islam. And that's why atheism is on the rise. It is on the rise from all of the religions, including Islam. Islam is not immune. And our youth are not immune from atheism. That a child, he turns around and says, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in Allah. And I've seen it with my own eyes. Youth who used to be Muslim, leave Islam. So how do you combat that? With ilm, durus, knowledge that is strong and sound, based upon the book and the Sunnah and sound reasoning. And the aql that is sahih, the intellect that is sound and strong. And if your children aren't exposed to that, you expose them 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, to the ideologies and the doctrines of secularism. If you were to give them 1 hour of Islam a week, it would not be enough. But it is better than nothing. Imagine if you give them 0. You give them nothing. No Islam. And all you're giving them is secular education at state schools. Then how do you expect when those children reach 16 and 17, to carry the generation of Islam into the future. Do not allow Islam and Salafiyah to finish with you. When you're dead, your generation finishes and your lineage does not carry on Islam. So in several generations from now, 60, 70 years from now, your great-grandchildren say, yeah, my great-great-grandfather used to follow that religion. Wallahu musta'an, because that's what you hear. I've heard it in the Caribbean. I've heard it in my own ears in the Caribbean. My great-grandfather used to be a Muslim. What are you? Nothing. Christian, atheism, atheist, whatever. Why? Because the parents do not protect the religion of their children. Their vision is short-sighted. All they see is that 10 years in front of them of wealth, good job. So they will encourage, Muslim parents will encourage their children to take a student loan and enter into riba. Hawa, straight away. Enter into riba. By the time they finish university, £40,000 debt. They've already got a mortgage on their heads. Then they get a job, and then their parents tell them, get a house. So he takes another mortgage on his head. Where's the time for durus and ilm and salafiyah? He's drowned in sin. Parents. That's the responsibility of parents. And our parents, wallahu musta'an, meaning the parents in our community, they don't care enough. They don't care enough. And they don't show that concern. So when will you start showing the concern that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has obligated upon you? Don't feel comfortable because you are living in Small Heath, or you are living in Alam Rock, or you are living in a Muslim community in East London, or in Bradford. Don't live in those comfort zones thinking that I'm protected because I live in a Muslim community. Because there is so much access to the ideas of atheism and the shahawat and the fulfilling of desires and being satisfied with those desires and offloading guilt, because that's the key term and the word that is used, that they don't want to feel guilty. Sin without guilt. How do you do sin without guilt as a Muslim? How do you get to it? Sin without guilt means that you have to somehow lock out the remembrance of Allah from your mind. Because as soon as you remember Allah, you remember what could happen to you because of your sins. So that's the first step. I don't want to think about Allah. If I think about Allah, I'm going to start feeling guilty. Because I love what I do. So they love taking drugs. They love drinking. It's love, love, love. Allah's going to punish you for love. So okay, you love heroin and cocaine. Allah's not going to punish you. You love stealing. Allah's not going to punish you. A man rapes a woman. Why do you rape her? Because I loved her. Khalas, love. So we shouldn't punish you because you rape a woman just because you loved her before raping her. Sit down, akhi. Barakallahu feek. Sit down. So this idea that we have to, we really must educate our children and get that right moral direction into our children. That is through durus. That is through attending the classes. We have classes at this masjid, just at this masjid, 7 or 8 times a week. Every night, basically. And on Saturdays after Dhuhr. At this masjid, 7 days. And then you have the Jummah khutbah that you heard every week. Masjid Sunnah Nabawiyah, likewise when it reopens, inshallah. Then you have the durus in Masjid Bin Baz in East London. Where do you live? Alperton, there's durus. Markaz As-Sunnah. Masjid Dar As-Sunnah in Shepherd's Bush, there's durus. Masjid Sunnah in West London, there's durus. Masjid in Slough, Mu'adh bin Jabal, durus. Reading, Markaz Salafi, durus. Where do you live? North, east, south, west. We'll find somewhere for you. And if you live on the tip of Cornwall, then move. Who obligated upon you? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran that when the angels come and bring to them death, and the angels will say to them, how were you? They would say that we were weak in the earth. Then the angels will say to them, was not the ard of Allah wasi'atan? Was it not wasi'ah for you enough? Was it not spacious enough for you that you could have migrated? Allah has opened up the whole of the earth for you. Wherever you go, you'll find rizq and you'll find Islam. Find somewhere to live where you are amongst people of Sunnah, and your children can access durus. Don't become lazy. And don't allow your children to say to you, well, I don't really understand what Ustad was saying and it's too much for me. Khalas, you don't have to go next time. So what are you going to do instead? Put them on a PlayStation. Khalas, give them PlayStation, huh? So they don't understand the dars, they'll understand PlayStation very well. Because that's what we're doing to our children. We're killing their hearts, our youth. And I don't mean children 6, 7 years old. I'm talking about children from the whole spectrum. If they're your children, bring them here. I don't care if they're 21. They're your children. Get them here. In the masjid, at the conference, at the durus, at the khutub. Well, my son can't attend the khutub. Why? Because he's at school and he's got GCSEs and I don't want him to fail. So for 3 months, no khutbah, khalas, no Jumu'ah. No, he just comes home and combines Dhuhr, Asr and Maghrib. MashaAllah. So history, geography, science, all of them are worth that. That's what it's worth to you. I can't, emphasize enough the importance of this affair. I can't emphasize it enough. And the thing is, yes, our durus generally are growing. Yes, they're growing. But compared to the size of our communities and the thousands and thousands of people that we have, then why should the dars only be 100 brothers and sisters or 150? Surely there should be 1,000 people sitting here every dars. If you're concerned about the akhirah, that's what you should be, right? Wait till those hizbis and those ikhwanis call for a protest. You see 1 million marching in London. 1 million will march in the streets. For what? For shaitan. It's not from the deen of Allah. Amr Mardood. An affair that is rejected by Allah. But they will march in the streets, 1 million of them. Like you see them in India now. Marching. No ilm. No Kitab al-Tawheed. No Usul al-Thalatha. No Aqidat al-Wasitiyah. No Bulugh al-Maram. No understanding of Bukhari. No understanding of Usul al-Sunnah of Imām Ahmad or anything. But tens and thousands marching in the streets, burning buses and throwing stones. Say, what are you doing that for? Allah. MashaAllah, Allah told you to burn a bus and throw stones. What else should we do? What else should you do? What else should you have done 3 generations ago? Now you're asking what we should do. You're on a car that is heading towards a cliff edge for the last 20 years. And you can see the cliff edge in front of you, but you didn't change direction. You didn't put on the brakes. You didn't think, hold on, this is going towards destruction. You didn't think that. Now the car is about to come off the edge. What shall I do? This is the problem. And they say, you Salafis don't offer solutions. Offer solution, we offered you solutions 1400 years ago. This is Salafiyah. Quran and Sunnah is the solution. Now they're marching in the streets. So I said, don't march in the streets. I translated some fatwa, put Sheikh bin Baz and others and whatever. And the reasoning behind demonstrations not being from Islam, it's not from the Kitab, not from the Sunnah. It is destructive, it is chaotic, it is disorderly. It is not from the Deen, it is not from the Sharia. Look at the responses. Foul, some of them. F off. We have our own scholars in India. That's what they teach you. These are the responses that you get. Foul, abusive. We're teaching you Kitab and Sunnah. And we're telling you where this is coming from. And where this is going to lead to. And why the Sunnah forbids it. Give us an answer that is ilmi. Respond to us with evidence, and we shall accept it. Respond to us with hawa, and we shall refute you. Bring your children and study. Bring your wives and study. There is no success and there is no reaching the truth except with knowledge. There is no righteous actions except with knowledge. There is no reaching Jannah except with action upon that knowledge. Whoever treads the path in pursuit of knowledge, Allah makes easy for him the path to Jannah. Where are your children? And the thing is, 30 years, or close to 30 years, not exactly 30 years, slightly less. Let's say 25 years we've been giving da'wah in this city. I've seen generation after generation of children waste away from the Muslims in this city with my own eyes. And those from my brothers who are similar age to me have seen them watch in front of our eyes how they've been wasted away by their parents. Why? Because you think that education at school and college is more important than Islam. I don't say it's not important. I'm educated, alhamdulillah. So is my family. So are my brothers. It's not we're opposed to education. What we're opposed to is you not learning your deen. If you have academic skills in academia, in studying, you can sit down, put pen to paper, put a keyboard in front of you and do research in secular subjects. You're telling me that you can't learn Islam? Some people can fill in a housing benefit form with their eyes closed. And then they say, I find usul al-thalatha hard. Find thalatha al-usul hard. You don't find it hard. You find it tedious. Because shaitan has sensed your weakness. And he's made you lazy. He knows you're lazy, so he's made you even more lazy. All right? Wait for them to stop your housing benefit. That laziness goes out the window. Coffee and you're waiting outside the housing benefit office in the morning. They stop your universal credit. Watch how quick you are. Nishat. Active. Or the people at work say to you, tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Don't be late. If you're late, you lose your job. You be there at 7 a.m. Parking your car in the car park and sitting there with your coffee. Because you know you don't want to lose this job. So for dunya, you will do what you need to do. But for the deen of Allah, you don't see it as important. Why? Because you're short-sighted. You don't think as far as your death. You don't think as far as the grave and Yawm al-Qiyamah. You're not thinking. And it's not just you and ourselves. You know, we're clear. We're one community. We're not thinking. So I remind you because a reminder benefits the believer. Or the reminder is a hujjah against the ghafilin. Is a proof against those of you who are careless and inattentive. Barakallahu feekum. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aid us, aid our communities, give us knowledge to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as He deserves to be worshipped. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from the traps of Iblis. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi